Hi again. In this video, I want to show you how you can create a blur hash using Payload CMS. So what we want is whenever we upload an image, we want to create a tiny version of that image, which we then stretch. And then you get this effect called blur hash, which you can see here. The benefit of blur hash is that when you use this, the page doesn't jump when the image isn't loaded. So for example, without blur hash, you load your page, your image isn't loaded, so there's a zero height for the image element. So once that image loads, it just jumps your whole content down. With blur hash, we see like a blurred version of the image at the correct width and height, so that you don't see this jumping effect. We'll use the Plaiceholder library for this. This is just simple, very tiny library. It's only 2 kilobytes or something, which gives us the effect. If you look, when we refresh, you see the blur hash, and then when the image loads, you see the real image. This is my project I'm working on. If I do a quick hard refresh, you have to be quick to watch it. You'll see the blur hash, and then when the image loads, the image is loaded. So there's no jumping in this scene. So how does this work? In your Payload CMS, you probably have a media collection, or it could be named otherwise. Every media collection is just an image, and in my case, I have an alt text field. And what I did to make this blur hash work is I added the blur hash field. So the name is blur hash. It's a text type. The blur hash, I don't know if I can show you how this works, but blur hash generates a very long string. It's even longer than this one. A very long string to represent the very tiny image. So added hidden to the admin object. This means that we won't see the blur hash field here. And then I also added disable list column and disable list filter, which means that it also won't be visible in any of these fields. Now, how does this work? We use before validate hook, which means that I'll just show it. When an operation happens, so we update an image or we create a new image, and we will run this code. So we check if it's create or update. We do not want to run this code for deletion, for example. We use the placeholder library. That's the only thing we do. And we pass in the buffer. So we pass in the whole blob of the file, which is coming our way through this data. What happens is we get a data response, but we're just fetching the base 64 value of that. And we return all the data, because for this operation, if, for example, I have changed a new alt tag, if I also created a new alt tag, we also want this data to be passed along. So we spread all the data, and then we add this blur hash, which is a base 64. So what this will do, you can't see it here because it's hidden, but I think we can see it here. Yeah. So this will add a blur hash to this image. That's all you need to do on the backend side. So this generate blur hash method is being called here in my before validate. I'll make sure to add a GitHub gist as well, so you can copy paste the code. Then, more importantly for the front end, I'm using Next together with Next image. And what you need to do, you probably can use this without Next image, but I'm using Next image, so I'll just explain how that works. This is the important part here, this image. Let me just delete everything that's not relevant. So we have these two here. So we have blur data URL, in which we pass the blur hash or nothing if we haven't defined it. And the placeholder, we check if we have a blur hash, we use blur, otherwise the placeholder for the image will be empty. In these two lines, make sure that this works. I think my styling will be a bit, and now you can see it for a long time because I changed some code and it's recompiling. So this is the blur hash created by placeholder and then loaded here. Just undo this. That's it. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. You don't have to use a Plaiceholder. There's other libraries as well, or you could write your own implementation of Blurhash. But this is really easy, and Plaiceholder is really a small-sized package, so it works really well. All right.